Now the seventh story. You're probably going to have 8 stories today, but the seventh story, oh yes. In this story, I need Maui. And I need Maui. First of all, let's have Maui. Good, thank you. I need a chief. Chief can be men and women in old Hawaii, so I need a chief. Okay, good. And I need the great god Kane. Come on, somebody who hasn't been up. Somebody who hasn't been up. Let's. There we go. We got one. Good. Oh, you're up first. All right, Carl. Okay. You remind me of the great god Kane. You know. Okay.
Yeah, go on, Kane.
Over there. Okay. Here's the situation. Maui, go over here. The situation is that every so often, the chief of the island, let's make this a Kauai story, what the heck. The chief of the island has to go to the god Kane. And actually he goes to a symbol of the god Kane. Right here, this is a symbol of the god Kane. Okay? And has to pray and beg the god Kane for some more ava. Now, let's explain that. Ava was a sacred drink made from the ava plant. And it was a drink which is really a mild narcotic. And the effect of it is that when you drink it, it relaxes the body and sharpens the mind. When you drink a moderate amount. If you drink a lot of it, it really relaxes the body and still sharpens the mind, but you can't move the body. A friend of ours went to they use a different name in Melanesia, but she went to a place where they have bars that sell this stuff, and it's this god-awful tasting, muddy-looking liquid, okay? Ava means bitter in Hawaiian also. And so she sat there and they drank all night with her friends and everything, and she was very clear-headed, and they got up to go, only she couldn't get up to go. The body just did not respond. There was no connection. If you drink a whole lot of ava, everybody laughs at you because you get a condition which is like conjunctivitis. Your eyes turn all red, the whites turn all red, and your skin begins to peel off. Okay? So that's when people really know you're an addict. Okay? So, but normally, especially in Hawaii, more so than elsewhere, it's used as a sacred drink, and still today. And so there's a big ceremony around preparation and drinking it. So it was an important drink because every important ceremony you had to have ava. But in these days, a very long time ago, people didn't know how to make ava. They didn't know where it came from. They didn't know how to prepare it. And so the chief had to come up to the symbol of mana, of Kane, and pray for Kane to give them some more ava for the next moon. And so then the chief would turn around. Okay? And Kane would set down a big bowl of ava. And then go back up in the heavens. Okay? Sometimes, and then the chief would turn around, take the bowl, and was happy. Sometimes a kahuna would have to, so now you're going to be a kahuna suddenly, okay? And sometimes a chief was a kahuna too. Sometimes the kahuna would climb up to heaven when there wasn't any ava, okay? And climb up to heaven and ask Kane, and Kane would form a cloud around himself so no one could see him, and he'd prepare the ava, and then he'd give it to the kahuna. And the kahuna would come back. So everybody was very dependent on Kane to provide the ava, and no one ever thought of doing anything different. One day, it so happened that the chief had to go to another island, and the kahuna was very busy doing some healing work. And the chief had, before he left, he had to go to another island. Before he left, no one wanted to go get the ava, because it took a long, long time to do that. And it took a long time to go up there and climb all those stairs to heaven and get the ava there. And of course, the chief couldn't tell anybody else the secret prayer that made Kane come down and give it. So there was only one person left. So not very happy, but the chief went over to Maui and instructed Maui to go up and get the kava this time, and told him how to do it and where to go and what to ask for. Okay. So Maui didn't have anything else to do. So the chief left the island. And Maui decided he was going to do it. So Maui, climbing the stairs of heaven, walking across a long, long field, a heavenly field. Okay. Finally, there's the great god Kane. And Maui says, I come on behalf of the chief of Kauai for another bowl of ava. And Kane forms the cloud around him, prepares the kava, hands it to Maui through the cloud, and Maui takes it and starts back across the field slowly. But Maui's thinking already, do I have to do this every month? He says, good grief, I've got other things I want to do. He says, I want to see what color the shells are in the farthest parts of the ocean. I want to learn how porpoises swim. I want to know if I can fly like a bird. I want to find out if the grass is greener on the other islands. So he says, I got to do something. So as he's coming back across the field, he sees a flower growing. And he looks at it, and for some strange reason, he stumbles over the flower and drops the ava. And it spills all out on the ground. So he brings the ava back, the bowl back, brings it back to Kane, and says, I'm sorry, I spilled it on the way out, tripped over this doggone flower, and would you please fill the bowl again? Well, Kane's not too happy, but he's generally a peaceful god. So he forms the cloud around him again, prepares the ava, brings it out through the cloud, gives it to Maui. Maui says thank you, turns around and leaves. He's going out, and there's one blade of grass that's taller than the other blades of grass. And Maui stumbles over the blade of grass, spills the ava. Okay? Comes on back. Now, when he comes back, the same thing happens again. Finally, now this is the fourth time, Maui comes back with an empty bowl. See, he stumbled across the blade of grass, he stumbled across the flower, there was a twig, and he stumbled across that. So now he's coming back with the empty bowl. And he says, look, I'm really clumsy, I'm so sorry. This time, Kane is so upset, he makes the ava right in front of him without the cloud. Puts it in the bowl, gives it to, and this time Maui says, oh, mahalo anui loa. Thank you very much. And then he leaves, goes back to the village, and shares the secret of how to make kava with all the other human beings. And they never have to depend on Kane, the great god Kane, for their kava anymore. Mahalo. Okay. The seventh principle is called Pono. And there are a lot of different ways to interpret that word. Basically, the word means good. Because it means good, it's also associated with success and happiness and good fortune in the sense of luck, and also positive results and the word hope. And there's a connotation of harmony in there as well. Okay? And so when we translate it for teaching, we say that effectiveness is the measure of truth. And so what we had here was the first truth. The truth was that Maui, what Maui did was, of course, he didn't pretend to spill the ava, he spilled the ava over and over again. He pretended to be clumsy. But finally what he was able to do from that was help make human beings less dependent on the gods in heaven and more able to do things for themselves. And this is a very shamanic kind of trick, where you trick people out of information and out of knowledge that you use when they're trying to keep it hidden and secret. And you share that. That is so shamanic that shamans have always gotten into trouble with the authorities in almost every society all around the world. Because typical shamanic thinking is they don't believe in hierarchies of any kind. And actually shamans around the world don't even have a hierarchy among themselves. There's no boss shaman. There's no one shaman in charge of other shamans. Unless you temporarily allow that for a particular ceremony, you may find someone in charge, but you may not find someone in charge. I discovered this when I went to Mongolia for shamanic knowledge. And just to show you a little how this works. I went there from my Hawaiian shaman background thinking I was really cool. I was going to share what I did and learn what they did. I sure learned what they did. Because at one time while I was there, I was invited to a ceremony on top of a mountain. And of course we had to make our way up there by foot. And it was rainy and slippery and tough. A lot of things happened that were magical, but I'll get to the point. When we got up there, there was a wrestling match. That was, Mongolians love wrestling matches. And here we were on the top of this cold mountain, and they only wore something like a bikini and a little tiny, teeny sort of thing that almost looked like a vest. Okay? And that's what they wrestled in the mud. And so the shaman was presiding, one shaman was presiding over that. Another one was giving healing information to some people around a fire and channeling something, I think she was. And that went on for a while. Someone else was walking around with a great big silver bowl of mare's milk, fermented mare's milk. That's one of the favorite drinks. And so we had to dip that out and drink it. And another one was walking around with a smaller bowl of vodka, which is the other sacred drink in Mongolia. And of course you had to drink that. But I was invited to participate in the ceremony if I wanted to. Well, great. So in my naive Western expectation mode, I'm waiting for someone to organize the ceremony and tell me how they want me to participate, where I should go, what I should do. And nothing's happening, and nothing's happening, and nothing's happening. And suddenly, a bunch of different shamans are putting on their costumes. All right, good. The organization's going to start any minute. No, that's not what happened. When all of the shamans had their costumes on, they went in all different directions and did their own thing. And whoever felt like following them followed. And you could follow one person for a while and then go off and follow someone else if you wanted to. And one person was doing blessings with horsehair brush. Another one was dancing in trance. Another one was doing a ceremony around a sacred object. Some others were holding a healing circle. Whatever you wanted, okay? To participate in that ceremony, they expected me to do my thing. Whatever that was going to be was all right. So that was an eye-opener, okay? But it just demonstrated that concept of no hierarchy in that way of thinking. And that's what this story was about, okay? Not to be dependent.